It starts with a dead computer nobody wanted, sitting in a closet, gathering dust, waiting to be thrown out. In the next 20 minutes, that one forgotten machine turns into a garage full of humming metal. A fight with the person you live with. A stranger online who convinces you to spend money you don't have. And a number on a screen that either changes your life or nearly wrecks it. Stick around until the end, because the real lesson in this story isn't about GP us at all. You're helping your cousin move out of her old apartment on a Saturday, carrying boxes down 3 flights of stairs in the heat. When you find it, shoved in the back of a closet behind winter coats. An old gaming tower, dusty, one fan missing its cover, a sticker peeling off the side. That thing's dead, she tells you. Take it if you want, or it's going in the dumpster. You almost leave it. You already have too much stuff. But something about carrying a piece of scrap all the way to a landfill bothers you. So you load it into your trunk instead, telling yourself you'll strip it for parts. That night, you set it up on your kitchen table just to see what's actually inside. You open the case. Dust everywhere, one stick of memory missing, but the graphics card looks fine. Out of pure curiosity, you plug it into a spare monitor and power it on. It boots. Slower than it should, but it boots. You sit there for a second, surprised a machine everyone had given up on still has a pulse. You open a browser just to check if the GPU inside is worth anything. And the very first search result isn't a price guide. It's a video titled, "How much can this card actually mine in a day?" You almost close the tab. Instead, you watch the whole thing. You tell yourself you're only doing this out of curiosity, not commitment. You download mining software onto the dead computer, half expecting it to crash immediately. Your antivirus throws up 3 separate warnings. You hover over Allow longer than you'd like to admit. Then click it anyway. You follow a setup guide meant for total beginners. Wallet address, mining pool, a config file full of settings you don't fully understand. You copy what works for other people because you don't know enough yet to do anything else. Then you hit start. The one working fan spins up loud, uneven, like it's working harder than it's used to. Numbers crawl across the screen. Hash rate, temperature, accepted shares. Nothing happens for almost an hour. You're about to shut it down and go to bed when you refresh the mining pool page one more time. A balance appears. Not even the price of a cup of coffee. But it's there. It's moving. It's real. You leave the dead computer running overnight on your kitchen table, telling your roommate it's just testing something. In the morning, the balance is slightly higher. You didn't do anything. You just let it run. And that's the exact moment a piece of scrap headed for the dumpster becomes something else entirely. Within a few days, you find your way into a Discord server built entirely around home mining. Hundreds of members, constant messages, screenshots of setups, payouts, spreadsheets. One user in particular, goes by the name Pharaoh, keeps answering questions clearly, patiently, without ever asking for anything in return. You start messaging him directly. He tells you the card in your kitchen table computer is fine for practice, but you're leaving money on the table. He sends you a link to a listing, a slightly older mining-specific card sold by someone clearing out a small home operation. I bought 3 of these last month, he says. Paid for themselves in under 2 months. You don't know this man's real name. You've never seen his face. You only know his opinions and his screenshots. But you trust him anyway, because the numbers in your own kitchen already proved him half right. You check your savings account, enough to buy the card, but not comfortably. You stare at the listing for almost 10 minutes before you finally click buy. No dramatic feeling, just a quiet order confirmation. You tell yourself it's a one-time thing. Deep down, you already know it isn't. The new card arrives 3 days later. You install it that same night right there on the kitchen table, next to a stack of unopened mail. 2 GPUs now running side by side. The sound changes instantly. Sharper, constant, impossible to ignore. Your roommate walks in around midnight for a glass of water and just stops. "What is that?" she says, not really asking, more just staring at the tangle of cables in the open case. "It's temporary," you tell her. "It's making a little money. I swear it's quiet once it settles." It does not settle. 3 nights later, she knocks on your door at 1 a.m., visibly exhausted, telling you she can hear the fans through the wall. You argue quietly at first, then not so quietly. She says the apartment feels like a server room. You say it's barely any different from a gaming PC. She says gaming PCs don't run for 18 hours straight. She's not wrong, and some small part of you knows it. You don't want to lose the setup, but you don't want to lose the peace at home either. So you offer the only compromise you can think of. You'll move the whole thing to the garage downstairs, the one your landlord lets tenants use for storage. She agrees, mostly out of relief. You spend the whole next weekend running extension cords and setting up a folding table in a garage that smells like old paint and gasoline. It's not glamorous, it's not clean, but it's yours, and no one has to hear it anymore. With the noise problem solved, the ambition problem gets worse. You start checking Pharaoh's server every night, watching people scale from 2 cards to 6, from 6 to a dozen. You open a spreadsheet for the first time. Daily earnings, rough estimate. A what-if column for adding more GPUs. The numbers don't look wild. They just look steady, predictable. That's what pulls you in more than any promise of huge profit ever could. You start hunting for deals on secondhand marketplaces, comparing prices late into the night. One listing catches your eye, 4 matching cards, barely used, priced almost 30% below everyone else. The seller responds instantly, friendly, professional, sends extra photos the second you ask. You almost send the payment through a link he provides outside the marketplace's own system. To skip the fees, he says. Something makes you pause. You screenshot the conversation and send it to Pharaoh instead. He replies within a minute. Don't. That's not a real payment link. I've seen 3 people get burned by that exact wording this month. Your stomach drops, not from losing money you already spent, but from realizing how close you came to losing money you hadn't even earned yet. You block the seller, report the listing, and sit in your garage for a long moment, just breathing. This is the first time the hobby stops feeling harmless. You buy your GPUs the safer way after that. One at a time, from verified sellers, patience over speed. Within 6 weeks, your garage holds 5 cards mounted on an open frame rig you built yourself out of spare wood and metal brackets. It's loud now, constantly loud. The kind of hum you stop noticing until someone new walks in and asks what on earth is running in there. Then, on a Tuesday night, everything goes dark at once. You walk out to find your landlord standing at the breaker panel, flashlight in hand, visibly annoyed. You trip the whole garage circuit, he says. Your unit's pulling triple what anyone else here uses. You explain half-honestly that it's just some computer equipment. He isn't buying it, but he isn't kicking you out either. Not yet. He tells you flatly that if it happens again, he's charging you for a dedicated electrician visit and possibly adjusting your lease. You spend that night rewiring your power strips, spacing out your GPS across 2 separate outlets instead of 1, terrified of losing the space entirely. The next morning, you open your real electricity bill for the first time since the garage move. It's almost double what you expected. You do the math against your mining earnings, subtracting, rounding, trying to make the numbers look kinder than they actually are. You're still ahead. Barely. Not the way it felt in your head 3 months ago. For the first time, this doesn't feel like free money quietly stacking up in the background. It feels like a job you never agreed to be hired for. Then, almost overnight, the price of the coin you've been mining drops hard. Nearly 40% in 3 days. You watch it happen in real time, refreshing a chart instead of your usual dashboard. You message Pharaoh immediately, expecting reassurance, expecting him to tell you this has happened before, and always bounces back. He doesn't respond that night. Or the next. You scroll back through his old messages, the timestamps, the confidence in every sentence, and start wondering how much of it was expertise. and how much of it was just someone as unsure as you, dressed up in better spreadsheets. 3 days later, he finally replies with a single line. Sorry, went through some stuff. Hang in there. That's it. No advice, no certainty. Just a stranger admitting quietly that he doesn't have the answers either. You sit in your garage that night, 5 GPUs glowing, fans spinning, numbers still climbing slowly despite the falling price. And you realize the machine never actually promised you anything. You were the one who built the story around it. The spreadsheets, the scaling, the certainty that more always means better. You don't shut it down, not yet. But for the first time since that dusty closet, you turn the fans down, open the garage door for some air, and just sit there, listening instead of calculating. Here's what this story is actually about. It was never really about the GPU or the coin or even the money. It was about how easily a quiet curiosity turns into a system you feel responsible for keeping alive. One card, one late night, one convincing stranger at a time. The hum in that garage wasn't just machines working. It was a reminder of how naturally just testing it turns into, I can't stop now. The real cost was never only the electricity bill. It was the sleep, the arguments, the trust placed in a person you never actually met. So here's the question worth sitting with. When something starts paying you just for leaving it running, at what point does it stop being passive and start running you instead?